Hey there, Bulldog fans, and welcome into the Bulldog Blitz. I'm your host, Mark Minner. Coming up on today's show, the Horizon League men's basketball tournament is underway. We'll get you caught up to date with the bracket and talk about Butler's opponents. Then the women's basketball team will be on the road in Valparaiso for an in-state battle. And we'll have news and notes in the Butler sports. Plus, we'll have our Blitz Breakdown segment, and I'll be joined in studio by Bill Lynch, the new Associate Athletic Director for Development. All this and more to come. But up first, Saturday afternoon, the men's basketball team will play in its first Horizon League tournament game this weekend against Milwaukee. The Bulldogs got the double bye in the tournament after securing the 2 seed with a victory over Loyola last weekend. With the victory, the Bulldogs also clinched a share of the regular season championship with Milwaukee and Cleveland State. This marks the 5th year in a row that Butler has accomplished a regular season championship. Milwaukee got the top seed in the tournament after beating Butler twice, and the Bulldogs were able to beat Cleveland State twice during league play, which secured the 2nd seed and a bye to the semifinals. Let's take a look at this tournament bracket for the Bulldogs. You see right now at the top, it's Cleveland State, who got the victory over Youngstown State 73-61. Wright State, the 6th seed, over Green Bay 60-50. And then at the bottom half, you had Valparaiso over Youngstown State 80-71. Detroit, the 5 seed, taking care of Loyola 90-69. That was the biggest victory in that opening round. So those 4 teams do advance. Cleveland State and Wright State now are the 2 teams that will be battling to take on Butler in the semifinals. Then at that bottom half, you've got Valparaiso, the 4 seed, taking on the 5 seed Detroit. Might be a good battle for Butler to see Detroit take care of Valpo and then take on Milwaukee. Valpo playing a very, very tough schedule. Then Butler plays the winner at 6 p.m. on ESPNU. It'll be a tape delay also on ESPN 3 online, and then Milwaukee will take on the winner of either Valpo or Detroit at 8:30 Eastern Time. That game will be on ESPNU. The winner will play in the championship game on Tuesday night. That'll be at 9 p.m. on ESPN. The final count is in, and Butler men's basketball has had the best ticket sales in numbers in over 40 years. Butler expected higher numbers coming off of a national championship appearance, and the Bulldogs delivered. Here's a look at the ticket sales records for Butler basketball. See, right now at the top, it's a 62-63 season. 118,000 fans crammed into Hinkle Fieldhouse. This season, it was 100,486 throughout 14 games. That was an average of 7,178. You look then at that last season, 09-10 season, 90,000 fans for just 13 games for an average of just under 7,000. There were not records for 63-64 and 69-70, but aside from that, the Bulldogs have had a great season of attendance, should be very proud in that 3rd spot. Only one more game remains for Butler women's basketball this Saturday up in northern Indiana. Butler will travel to take on Valpo in the league finale. It is a crucial game for Butler, who's tied for 2nd place in the standings with Cleveland State. Butler coming off a tough loss to Green Bay on the road. The Phoenix have been dominant, though, in league play with a record of 17-0. Let's take a look at the standings right now for the Green Bay Phoenix and then the Butler Bulldogs. Green Bay right now atop the league 17-0, 28-1 in overall play. Cleveland State now has moved to 11-6 after a victory yesterday. Butler and Wright State and UIC. Butler at 11-6, 17-12 overall. Wright State was in contention for a lot of the time, now at 10-7. UIC 9-8 is their record. UIC will be on the road to take on Cleveland State in the season finale for them. Loyola at Youngstown State. You see Milwaukee, Cleveland all battling down there at those bottom spots, but those teams will get in the tournament. Loyola at Youngstown State, Green Bay at Detroit, Milwaukee at Wright State, and Butler at Valparaiso are your upcoming games. Valparaiso just that record of 4-13 in league play. The Bulldogs can't overlook the Crusaders, though. Time now for some news and notes around the Butler Athletic Department. 2 Butler student athletes are at the top of their respective sports in the Horizon League this week. Both Kyle Wagner and Julia Porter were named Horizon League Player of the Week. Kyle for his performance on the baseball diamond, and Julia for her talent out on the links. Wagner had a batting average of .412 and had 7 RBI in that tournament down in South Carolina. Porter finished 2nd out of 54 contenders in the golf tournament down in Alabama, including a 78 that she shot in that 1st round. It should also be noted that Matt Howard and Shelvin Mack were named to the All-Horizon League team this past week. Howard was named to the 1st team while leading the team in points and rebounding. He's got 16.8 points per game this season, 7.9 boards per game for Butler. Ron Nord and Matt Howard also named to the All-Defensive team. Coming up next, we've got Bill Lynch will join us in studio, but before we get to that, when we come back, we've got your Blitz Breakdown segment. Alyssa Garfinkel will join me in studio to talk about all things Butler sports. Stay with us right here on the Bulldog Blitz. Welcome back on to the Bulldog Blitz. It's our Blitz Breakdown segment. We are joined by Alyssa Garfinkel once again. Reduced numbers, but not in quality, with Alyssa back on our side.
Thank you, Mark.
Alyssa, we're glad to have you. Let's talk about this Horizon League tournament. It's going to be interesting. The opening round is in the books. The Bulldogs got that double bye in that second seed, which was big for them. But now they're going to play either the winner of this Wright State or Cleveland State matchup. It's a 3-6 matchup. Who do you see winning that one?
Well, I think I'm going to have to go to Cleveland State. You know, we have seen them play very well lately, and I think at this point it's a toss-up for anyone, though. We still have to remember, you know, Valpo they were up there and now they're kind of falling down, but it could be anybody's win this year.
And then on the other side, you've got Valparaiso taking on Detroit in that Friday night matchup. And who do you see there? Valpo was the clear favorite all season long, but Detroit got a big victory in the opening round and looked poised to make a little bit of a run.
Right, and I'm still going to have to go with Valpo on this. I think they've, you know, kind of struggled, but I think they're going to be playing well. It's tournament time. They know what is at stake. They were up at the top, you know, for a while, so I think I'm going to have to go with Valpo on this also. And
then as you look at that matchup between either Cleveland State or Wright State, where do you see the Bulldogs, I suppose, having the advantage against which team?
I think, you know, I think the Bulldogs are going to pull it out. I think they're going to play great against Cleveland State. I think they're going to have a big advantage. You know, these guards are going to step up. Andrew Smith, Kyle Marshall, Matt Howard. I think it's going to be a great game that you're going to get to watch.
Okay, now we switch to looking at Butler, and we haven't been talking about them because they've been having a week off, which is nice, a little bit of rest coming off that Loyola victory. Now we talk about their defending championship, and it's on the road. They're not playing in the familiar confines of Hinkle Fieldhouse up in Milwaukee on that first night. Can they get to that championship game, and can they win that championship game?
I think they definitely can get to that championship game. It's hard to play at Milwaukee, and we've seen how much they've struggled, but I think, you know, I think at this point it's anyone's game. I think Butler's going to have a great chance of winning the Horizon League, and if they don't, they're going to have a chance of making it to the NCAA tournament, I think.
You're talking about that at-large contention, but also it's interesting to think Milwaukee still has the potential to lose that game against either Detroit or Valparaiso, and then the tournament championship could be back at Hinkle Fieldhouse. I mean, how likely is it that Milwaukee loses on their home court?
I think, you know, you want to say that you hope they lose, so it is back at Butler, but I think with it being at their home court, their fans, you know, their atmosphere, I think they're going to have that big advantage, whether it's against Detroit or Valpo.
Yeah, no, the Bulldogs would certainly like to see it back at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Not sure how likely that's going to be. Okay, talking about the Horizon League awards, now the postseason awards were announced. Talking about first team, second team, and defensive team. And Matt Howard gets on that first team, Shelvin Mack on the second, Ron Nord and Matt Howard on the defensive team. Is that what you think is just? Do you think that was the right pick by the league?
I think for Matt Howard, it's very deserving. You know, we've seen him all 4 years be a great player defensively and offensively. So for him, that's a great award. It's very deserving. Shelvin Mack, I think, is kind of in between. We've seen him struggle ever since, you know, they went to Hawaii. We've kind of seen him fall back. We've seen him step up when he needs to, but overall, he's not playing as consistent as he was last year. So I think, you know, he on that second team, it's okay for him. Ronald Nord, very deserving of defensive player. He's a great defender. You know, maybe struggles here and there offensively, but overall he is great defensively. And he's great at team defense. So we see that man-to-man, everything. He is the one that you want. So I think it's very deserving on all ends for them.
It's fun to watch Ron and Sean Van Zandt switch up on a different key player for the team. They really lock down and provide some pressure. Now we switch to women's basketball. They've got one game left in this Horizon League season. It was Wright State who was in contention all the time for that 2 spot. Now it's Cleveland State that has moved to 11-6 and tied them up.
Right.
Game against Valpo, it's a big one. They got to get the victory. What do you think?
And we've seen Valpo struggle this year a little bit. You know, they're down in the lower half of the bracket. So I think Butler's going to pull it out. I think it's going to come down to a toss-up between those two, but between Cleveland State and Butler. It could go either way at this point. And they have split. So if it comes down to a tie, I think it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes, but I think Butler's going to end up being in the 2 spot.
And as you look back and you think, maybe when you start this season, you know, what was this team going to look like at the end of the year? They started off to that red-hot start in Horizon League play at 7-0. They have fallen a little bit because naturally the season's going to wear and tear. But as you reflect back, is this where you thought the team would be, and do you think they're in the right spot?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's exactly where they should be. maybe not where they want to be. They want to be up in that one spot, but Green Bay is a great team. They always have been. So I think that they are definitely where they should be. It's expected 2 or 3 for them right now. Every year they want to win, but right now Beth Kuser couldn't ask for anything more from them. Okay,
now we don't have Steve and Lance asking about baseball for this week's toss-up, but we have you back, and I'd like to know what you had to wonder, what have you been pondering on in Butler sports this week?
I think, my roommate is a softball player, so I'm very interested in always keeping up with them. So I'm very interested to see how they're going to do. They travel to Lipscomb, so how are they going to do that tournament? They went 1-3 when they went to Mississippi State. So what changes are they going to make? Are they going to have big lineup changes? Who's going to play? How are they going to do? Jenny Esparza, what is she going to do differently? We've seen them, we've seen what they could do last year. What are they going to do with this new coach and a new week? What's going to happen? Because they still haven't been able to really step out on the field.
Well, it's been interesting to see. We had Scott Hall on here on the show, our first show of this season. And there's a new energy about it almost. There's a lot of excitement about what this team can do, and I know they're bringing back some great players. You mentioned Jenny Esparza, one of the best pitchers in the league, if not the best pitcher.
Right.
So it's going to be exciting to see what they can build on, and she's still young. Coach Hall really provides a lot of exuberance for this program, and they've got the new stadium, a lot of good things happening. I think at least
and I think
in Horizon
they're all
play.
very, very excited about it. The RF from them is very different than it was last year, and you can tell that just from talking to the girls. Erin Falkenberry, Alyssa Coleman, Mallory Winters. They have some great girls that have come back, and I think they're very excited. I think it's going to be, once they get into conference play and they get to play at home and travel, I think it's going to be a great season for them.
A little bit overtime here, but plenty to say. We always appreciate it. Thank you, Alyssa.
Thank you.
All right, it's Alyssa Garfinkel. I'm Mark Minner. We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz, including a great exclusive interview. We have the privilege to be joined by Bill Lynch, the new Associate Athletic Director in the Butler Athletic Department. Stay with us on the Bulldog Blitz. Welcome back out to the Bulldog Blitz. Pleasure to be joined right now by Bill Lynch, the new Associate Athletic Director in the Butler Athletic Department for Development, former IU football coach, former Butler football coach, Butler alumna, just everything you can say. Bill, we appreciate you being on the show.
Glad to be here.
Okay, so let's talk first now. Does it feel good to be back at Butler?
It really does. I got a long history here, really. I just haven't been here for 20 years, but I grew up in Indianapolis, and as a kid, I spent more time at Hinkle Fieldhouse and the old Butler Bowl watching games and sliding down the hill and all those things. I was kind of a neighborhood rat, and then I came here and played and got on as an assistant football coach and was here for 7 years. I left for a year, came back as a head coach for 5. So really, from the time I got out of high school, I spent 17 years counting as a student athlete, and so then I was gone and really excited to be back.
Oh, and you don't even mention, though, your 3-time honorable mention All-American in football from 74 to 76. Very impressive resume for you, but can you explain a little bit more about this new position you've got within the athletic department for development?
Well, I think when I got started in the coaching profession, the natural progression when you finish coaching was in administration. Now that has changed some through the years, but I always in the back of my mind thought that when I was done coaching that I'd like to get in administration. So when the opportunity came up and talking with Barry Collier, it's kind of ironic that I was looking for something when this job was presented. And Barry and I were teammates together here. So in fact, my last year as the football coach was his first year as the basketball coach. So we stayed close through the years, and he talked about kind of the transition he went from coaching into administration, and what he had in mind with this position, I felt like was a great fit. I'd always been sold on Butler University, and that's a lot of what my job will be in development, is going out and selling and telling the story. And it's certainly not hard one for me to tell because it's been a part of me, and even though I haven't been here the last 20 years, I certainly have been close to the situation.
And certainly you step in at the right time. This team comes off a season where they made it all the way to the national championship, a lot of exposure. Butler University couldn't be hotter right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's always been a great university and with great tradition, and both from an academic standpoint, but certainly an athletic standpoint. But when you get a chance to go to the national championship game and get to do it in your hometown, I mean, it was a great story, and I certainly enjoyed it, even though I was down in Bloomington. But coming up to the games and seeing some old teammates and friends that I hadn't seen in 30 years, and you could tell that everybody really rallied around the Bulldogs, and so it is a great opportunity to go out and tell the story now that everybody's kind of have their eyes opened.
You talk very fondly when you talk about Butler, and if you look back, you say you look back to your time at the university, both playing and coaching. What's your fondest memory you've got?
Oh boy, that's hard. You know, I think you always just look back and it's the relationships and the friends that you made. A lot of the games and this, you know, they come and go, but you don't forget, you know, the guys you went to school with, the fraternity brothers, and then all the guys you coached. And that's been fun just in the last few weeks, coming back to some ball games and seeing some former players and catching up with them. And I don't think there's any question that's the most important thing is the relationships you build through the years.
You've been inducted into 2 Hall of Fame. Back in 2000, the Butler Hall of Fame, and then in 2005, the Indiana Football Hall of Fame. Not many people get to do that. How meaningful is that to you?
Well, you know, I certainly appreciate the people, you know, thinking that, you know, some of the accomplishments are, you know, worthwhile. But again, it's about the people you did it with. And that's, I think, one thing you certainly learn in athletics, that you don't do it alone. I think sometimes the perception, some people act like that, you know, it's all about them. And that's, you know, what I've always loved about Butler and the Butler way, that it is about team and the people you do it with. So to get recognition is nice, but certainly it took a lot of people to get it done.
You've served in a lot of different roles at several different schools, and you've gotten some great experience from that, I'm sure. What do you feel like you've learned in those experiences that's going to help you in this new position for Butler? Well,
you know, I spent 30-some years recruiting 18-year-olds, and that's selling the university that you're working for and the vision that you have for your, at that time, football program. Really, that's what I'm going to do now, is sell the vision of Butler University and Butler Athletics. And, you know, as Barry said, we're going to be recruiting guys our own age rather than 18-year-olds. And I think that's a good way to, you know, certainly in development, you know, we're going to go see the people that believe in Butler and get them on board with all the great things that are going on here right now.
And finally, you join this athletic department in the midst of a Horizon League tournament run. What are we expecting from this men's team up in Milwaukee?
Well, certainly wish them all the best on Saturday, and how they finish the season, I think it's a great credit to Brad and his staff and the players to hang in there. Basketball season's a long year, and there's a lot of ups and downs through it, but they're certainly in it on a high note, and hopefully they'll get it going on Saturday night.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.
That's Bill Lynch. We appreciate his time. We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz. Coming up next, it's a look at what you can see on campus this weekend. This weekend, most of the Butler teams are on the road, but there are still some events to check out on campus. Starting on Saturday, the baseball team will have a doubleheader against Oakland at noon and 3 p.m. Men's tennis will host Dayton on Sunday at noon in the Butler Bubble, and the women's tennis team will host Houston at 2 p.m. The men's baseball team will host another doubleheader as well on Sunday. The times are identical, so is the opponent as it was on Saturday, with a noon and 3 p.m. start against Oakland. Also on Saturday night, the Bulldogs playing in their first Horizon League tournament game against either Cleveland State or Wright State at 6 p.m. The game can be seen on ESPN3 online or heard on 1070 The Fan in Indianapolis. The winner will advance to the championship game on Tuesday night. That will just about do it for this week's episode of the Bulldog Blitz. Make sure to catch us on Hoosier TV or online at youtube.com/Bulldog Blitz Sports. Until then, I'm Mark Minner. We'll see you right back here on the Bulldog Blitz.